Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to What's on My Pedalboard. For this installment, we're visiting with Don Carr. Great to see you, Don.
Hey, thanks, Mitch. Great to be here.
Absolutely. You are Sweetwater's studio guitarist, and you're also a video demo guy for guitars, pedals, amps, so you get your hands on tons and tons of gear.
Oh, yeah, especially pedals.
Yeah, so it'll be kind of fun to check out what you've selected for your own personal board here.
All right.
Before we start, though, tell us what guitar you're using and what amps typically you're playing through, just so we have a context when you were talking about the board.
Sure. For me, my kind of go-to live guitar is this good old trusty PRS 513. Great Swiss Army knife, does a little bit of everything really well, and feels amazing, and is super easy to play. It just feels like home for me.
Right.
So that's kind of my go-to. For amps, I use a variety of amps, and it really just depends on the gig. Today we're checking out my live board, and I just need it to be able to work with a bunch of different scenarios.
Right.
So typically what I use is I have two Boogie Amps, two older Boogie Amps. I have a Roadster and a Recto combo, and both of those are multi-channel, clean front end, if you want it, channel switching, effects loop. And so today what I'm playing is the Fillmore 100.
Okay.
It's kind of, the same, in the same family. A little different power section, but, in the same family for sure.
And so this is your board that when this isn't the one you use in the studio, this is the one you're put together for yourself, for gigs with the Sweetwater All-Stars and other artists that you play with.
Yeah, everything that comes along, whether it's, all the stuff at Gear Fest, but man, just even in-town gigs, and they range from Western swing to R&B to pop to, oldies to...
Right. You're covering a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of different things. So that's kind of the name of the game for me is, flexibility, modularity, that sort of thing.
Right. So further to that point, then, tell us your philosophy when you're looking at putting things on your board and your overall design for the board.
Okay. Well, it's really, as much as anything, is about signal flow. I want to be able to shut everything off and have it sound as if I'm plugged straight into the amp. That's the first thing. So it's really important to make sure that the power's straight. It's really important to make sure that the gain staging is correct and you're not getting any signal loss. You don't have too many buffers or not enough buffers, or you got the buffers sounding the way you want. All that stuff is kind of tantamount, because to me it's the sound of the guitar and the amp, and you're doing this stuff to color it and add to it. I like stuff that just when you click it on, it just sounds good.
Right. Sure.
Seriously, just from a straight functionality, it has maybe a good range of sounds, but mostly just something that makes me want to play and sits in the mix the way I want it to sit. That's another big consideration.
So I don't see a channel switch on your board here. Are you channel switching on the amp, or are you using the amp as a clean platform?
Well, it depends. Like in this scenario, I've got it set up where you can kind of do both. And what I tend to do with that is set the gain channel either really low or really high, right? So it's like on my rectifier combo, it's a 2-channel amp, and so I've got it set for what I call the nuclear option. So when you go to that channel on that thing, it's a beast. It's a roaring beast, and it's just something a pedal it won't quite do.
Right.
The other option is the way I've got it set up here, which I've got it set up just slightly dirty, just like an alternate sound, and then I can still use all of my distortion pedal flavors, I should say, on top of that.
Okay. And so then you put your channel switch just off the board. You don't keep it on
just
because
off
you're
the board.
changing amps anyway.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on what amp it is. Another great thing about this pedal board is that it works easily with, like a single channel amp or a non-effects loop amp. It's one cable and I can connect everything and just keep going. So again, the modularity, scalability, flexibility kind of thing.
Right. Well, with all that said and kind of the context established, give us a tour.
So great. So we've got the Boss TU3, because you can't be too in tune. Right? Let's face it, you gotta have a tuner. You're not going anywhere without a tuner. I was always a big fan of having a tuner, on a side chain in, like off of a volume pedal, typically. And so I always liked an active volume pedal with a buffer built in, so you could always power the side chain properly and didn't lose signal. Man, I love the sound of the buffer in the TU3. It's just a great sounding buffer.
Sure.
So that's first in.
So you're always going through the tuner then, you're never bypassing it.
Right, and you can see there's not even a switch. It's just always in, always on. If I want to mute, volume pedal.
So it is basically the initial buffer in your signal path.
Right. And then from there, it goes into the exotic wah.
Okay.
Which, again, love the sound of that thing. It's got some tweaks and some flexibility built in it. It's a set it and forget it though. You know, you find the sound that works for you, the sound that you like, and you can leave it alone. If you need to dial in something specific, it's nice to do that with, but you know, it's pretty tweaky, so I tend to just leave it and, you know, find the sound that I like.
Right. Do you set it up for more of a Vox wah, more of a crybaby, or do you have your own tonality you're after?
A little more of a crybaby. It's a little, you know, it's a little more vocal, you know, and a little warmer at the top.
Okay.
You know.
Let's hear a little bit of it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's definitely not shrieky on the top end or too bright. It's nice and warm.
Right. Yeah. I'm really going after that because it's, man, you know, it's so easy for a wah to get really wacka
Really shrill, yeah. The other thing that's nice about that particular wah is that it's fairly compact.
Yeah, it is. And the throw on it's really nice. It's really smooth. You know, it's compact, but it doesn't feel like a mini. You know, it still feels like a full-size pedal.
Right. And what's up next after the wah pedal?
Okay, so next is the exotic compressor, the SP, which, wow, man, I'm only a snob about a couple of things. Right. Compressors, definitely one of them, man. I really, really like this compressor. I was so happy to find this because it has the tone, and again, it has the flexibility. You know, you can get in and tweak on it, but I've just found a couple of settings that I like, and I leave it alone. The blend knob is just right, but man, it just feels really good. It really does. And I'm just super happy with the way this compressor sounds.
So do you use it more for lead type stuff, for chicken picking, for what kind of applications do you have for it?
I've found a setting for me that kind of does everything. Like if you just want a straight squash, like a funk thing, you know, if you just want it like a real even, it'll do that. It's snappy for chicken picking. I can also use it to like boost clean lines without really getting into a gain thing. You just want them to stand out and be a little fuller. I've also used, you know, it can drive a you know, distortion box a little bit too. So I've kind of got a setting that I feel sort of covers all of that.
Right.
You know, with one setting.
Nice.
Yeah. So here's that.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's that, and then for the, you know, for the funk thing. Yeah, totally does that. And then again, if you just want a lead line to stand out a little bit, you know, like if you're playing rhythm.
Really makes it big and round sounding.
Yeah, it does. It's just kind of the right little amount of difference. You know, just enough, again, just to kind of bring it out, you know, not to overtake or be super effecty sounding, just something, you know, that's the same thing with the volume pedal, and even with the way I have my gain pedal set up. I'm really just trying to mix. I'm trying to blend. I'm trying to always be appropriate in whatever, you know, piece of music is happening at the time, whatever mood is happening.
Sure.
You know.
Sure. Context is everything when you're setting up your sounds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And where do we go after the SP?
Okay, so the double barrel is next from JHS. Another great find. Man, I was so happy to find this. It's a Morning Glory and a Moonshine together. And so the Morning Glory is lighter gain, a little more transparent overdrive. And the Moonshine is like super hyper modified TS style. So the two of those together really is just a really potent combination. And again, I've found a couple of settings that work for me across the board. One of the things I really like about the Morning Glory side is the fact that it's got two gain stages, basically a lower and a higher gain, and they both work. It's not like you have to readjust from one to the other. With the Blue, I've got kind of a clipped sound set up. And then with the Red, it's just a little more, you know, a little more chunking. Yeah,
big sounds.
Pretty big sound. And then Moonshine side is basically like my main lead tone.
Another big tone.
Yeah, really fat. And then if you just want to get, ridiculous, you can boost it with the Morning Glory side.
Lots of sustain.
Yeah,
lots of harmonic content there. But again, it's not shrill sounding. It's nice and warm.
Right. And it, it sits well in the mix. But when it's time to step out, there you are, man.
Yeah, right. Nice.
Okay. So then next is the Rev G3.
Okay.
And that's kind of in the option spot.
The option spot, okay.
That pedal is my option spot pedal. It's right towards the front. It's like it's almost off the board, but it's not quite. Back to the modularity part of it, the option part of it. Whatever I might need, like if I'm playing an amp that doesn't have a verb, but I don't need multiple drive sounds, easy enough to just stick a verb right there.
Okay.
When I'm using my Roadster, it's a 4-channel amp. So I don't really need 3 extra, I guess 5, 6 extra gain sounds, or however many extra gain sounds you can get with this combination right here. So I'll take that out and I can throw in, man, it's like a pitchfork, the EH pitchfork. I really like that. That's a great pedal. And then if I want to do whammy stuff with it, even just throw an expression pedal off to the side.
Right.
So again, this kind of option spot, or if I decide I really want to fuzz, just a completely different voice, but. Man, I really like the Rev. It's got a particular chunk to it that this doesn't have. Let's hear it.
Yeah,
let's check it out.
Yeah, that's a totally different sound than a double barrel.
Yeah, it is. It's got its own character to it. It's got kind of like less low mid information. But it's still got a lot of girth.
A lot of bottom end,
It's got a lot of bottom end, and the top is really snappy. And so it's great for that, chunky rhythm thing. Also good for leads. It's a little more, pointed on a lead sound, but it's an alternate tone.
Sure.
Man, how many sounds do you want? As many as we can get.
As many as you can get.
Right?
Do you ever boost it with the double barrel?
You can. Again, it's a little over the top, but it works.
Yeah.
Right?
All the gain you could want, right?
Yeah, exactly. Never run out of sustain. And this is at our moderate, studio volume here, as opposed to like on stage with the amp just really cooking and the speaker, just.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gets pretty juicy.
No doubt. So where does the signal go after the Rev?
Okay, so after the Rev, it goes to the front of the amp.
Okay.
Okay, so that's on the input stage, and then through the effects loop, it comes back to my visual volume pedal. My good old trusty visual volume pedal.
So you're using that in the effects loop, not in front of the amplifier.
Right. Using it in the effects loop like a master volume control at that point, which is great because even if you're using gain in the amp, you're still mixing yourself, in the entire scenario, which I really like that.
Right, so that gives you your overall master volume control, and then you can control, if you need to roll the gain back from your guitar, you can still do that.
Right, doing it on the guitar, which is great because you always, I always need to tuck a rhythm part in behind a vocalist, or have a lead part jump out or whatever. So to have that, and with the visual, man, I mean the gas pedal effect, I love that, where you can actually see where you're at.
Right.
I've got it just tight enough. I've got the treadle just tight enough that it'll stay, wherever you put it, pretty well. And it's pretty accurate. It's nice. I had it on the road with me. I've had that thing probably 20 years. At least 20 years, and I've used it the entire time. It was on the road with me, and now it's on this pedal board, and I don't know, I love it.
Yeah, and I don't know of anything else on the market that has the LEDs to show you
nothing else has the LEDs, and you get kind of spoiled by that after a while.
Yeah, right,
I mean, it's it's kind of a pig on the board there.
It is big.
It's a little wide, but it's like I got a Buick parked on my pedal board, but it's okay though. It's okay. I'm good with it.
Right.
And the other thing is it's buffered or non-buffered, and switchable, so that makes it easy. Don't really need the buffer, in an effects loop, but
sure, right.
So, and the other thing worth mentioning here is that if I don't have an effects loop in an amp, like I've got a 65 Deluxe. I mean, an actual 65 Deluxe, so there's no effects loop in it. I go straight out of here into there.
Okay.
With a patch cable, and then it's straight into the front of the amp.
So then it just flows straight through the board and to the front.
Right.
Nice.
Right.
One cable. That's easy enough to do.
Yeah. Right.
And then from the volume pedal, then I'm assuming you go to your time-based effects.
Right. Right. Go to the Mobius next.
And what kinds of things are you using that for?
Well, I know you and I have had this discussion quite a bit. I mean, you need so many different modulation sounds, and I find that if I have them, I will really use them. And the Mobius just really covers them all so well. The main things are, the common stuff you'd expect, chorus, flange, trem, rotary speaker, but then it's got some other fun stuff in it too.
All right, let's hear some of the patches that you use.
Okay, cool. So here is, let me see, this is my chorus sound.
Nice and rich?
Yeah, man, straight up 80s. There we go, man. I'm there all day. And then harmonic trim. This is a great sound, too.
Sweet.
Yeah, really rich, man. And then this is a little tricky sitting down here. Let me do it this way. Rotary speaker.
Right.
Put a bass ending when you can.
Yeah, right.
Phase shifter, classic phase. I like the deep phase, man.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, Univibe, man. Again, just nice to have alternate colors.
Right.
Frankly, that's the thing for me, and a good good envelope filter.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, a couple of weird sounds that I use are, I love this, man.
Nice.
All right, warbled wax, and then if you want to get just completely stupid, got a ring modulator thing. Imagine you're cruising along in a solo, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you hear.
What the heck is that?
Right? Everybody's like, wait a minute. I watched his hands, and I heard, and I didn't. Wait a minute.
Right.
Yeah, big disconnect there.
Right. Do you use a tap tempo to set the modulation rates of anything?
I really don't. Occasionally, sometimes if I want something drastically different, I will. I do use the Leslie ramp speed, though.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's a useful feature to have.
Yeah, that's a nice effect. It really is. Especially in, like if something's really broken down and the guitar's exposed, you can, it's cool.
Yeah, right.
Very cool.
Right.
And from there, finally, into the Boss DD500.
Mm-hmm.
Another just, crazy versatile, super over the top, does a million things pedal.
Right.
In case you need it.
Yep,
most of the time with delay, you're doing a couple of things, but occasionally you want to do something interesting. So this is my sort of straight up go-to delay. Just a little ambience, and then you can tap it out if you need to. That's why I love having the full-time tap control. And then I've got a little analog, kind of a short.
Right, just fill things up.
Yeah, really good for rhythms and, even just, fattening up a lead thing or whatever. This is one of my personal favorites here. Just when you need things to get completely over the top.
So you use that one a lot, I assume.
Yeah, yeah. Why? Because I can. No. And then this one's a little more useful. I like this. It's modulated delays. Nice ambience.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and the Boss does so much stuff. I found so far that I've used the reverse occasionally for, you know, crazy solo stuff, you know, like your typical sort of. Right.
For another one of those, what in the heck is he doing moments,
yeah,
right?
Exactly, exactly. For wait a minute, I just heard. Did I hear what I think I heard? Yeah, that sort of thing. And then I haven't even started playing with the looper in this, and I should. That's so much fun because you can do, you know, you can do so much crazy thing with a looper, you know, that's built into this, and still have delay full time.
Right.
So there it is.
That is an incredibly versatile board.
Ah, why? Thank you, sir. Yeah, I tried to get a lot of firepower in a small footprint, you know, and do a lot of stuff. I've got the One Spot Pro power supply under there too, so that's kind of covering everything. Again, never run out of juice with that. You know, always the right stuff.
Right.
And it's on a pedal train.
Which, given that you swap things around occasionally and you want it to be modular, that's a great choice because it's so easy to reroute things.
It is, because you can just run stuff under the rails if you need to, or over the top, or right next to each other, and Velcro, you know, pop it off and on. Really simple.
Right, right. Well, man, you've given me a ton of ideas. I was telling you the other day that I think my board is kind of fixed at this point, but I maybe rethink a few things because you got some great ideas going on here. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Sure thing, man. Sure thing. This is always a work in progress, but I think I've got something I can deal with now.
Obviously, you can do a lot of sounds with that. Yeah. That's great. But you have something else to show us today.
I do indeed.
All right, well, let's make a switch and check it out.
Let's do it.
So we're back, and we have a new pedal board on display here today.
Yes, we do. The bonus board, part 2.
Who needs 2 boards? Why would you possibly?
Well, you know, this is the rehearsal board.
Okay.
Right?
So it's specifically designed for that application.
If I found myself on a gig with it, I wouldn't be a bit upset, but it really is designed just for that, just to have a couple of flavors at a rehearsal, especially a loose rehearsal. Right. And it's so small.
Right.
So small, so convenient.
So the nice thing about that is that you can kind of focus, instead of worrying about dialing up sounds and calling up everything and getting everything set exactly, you just get the basics and then you can focus on the music. And, because you're learning things at that point.
Right, that's the whole point, is that you're learning parts. And unless there's something really hyper-specific where it's like, oh, I need this delay setting for this, or I need this, it's just like, here's the part where it needs delay. Oh, here's the part where, you know, where I turn the gain up.
Right.
You know.
So the first thing I noticed looking at it is there's no tuner on it.
Right. So guess what we do?
Clip-on, nice, yeah.
Peterson.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So you just leave it on the guitar and then you don't have to worry about it on the board. Keeps the board smaller. Okay.
Exactly. One less thing.
Right.
Yep.
So what is on the board?
On this board, again, we're back to modularity. I mean, how easy is it to take stuff on and off of that? Just keep Velcro on all your pedals, and super simple. On this board, right now, I have the Benz Compressor from Fender.
All right.
And I have the Pugilist Distortion from Fender. Great Swiss Army knives, man. Both of them really good.
Right. So, so show us what those do for you when you're just basically setting them up.
Sure. The Benz, man, it's just so smooth.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, really transparent. You know, so you can kind of get it into, you know, over the top mode if you want to, but for the most part, it's just there to just kind of be a compressor when you need it to be. You know?
So I'll ask a question that maybe would come up, not to take away from that pedal at all, because obviously it sounds great. Why wouldn't you just put an SP on there like you had on your rig board?
Well, because I got another one, and it's fun, right? It's fun.
Great answer.
Yeah,
I expected that was going to be the answer. Is I had this, and it's awesome.
I had it. It's great, and it's fun. You know, because I mean, sure, you'd think, oh, I'll just duplicate all my stuff. And you know, in a practical sense, like, I mean, seriously, if I was working back out making my living, playing again all the time, and it was your bread and butter. Well, I always had a duplicate of everything I had.
Right.
So I would just have a duplicate board, and then I'd even have a duplicate small board.
But for this application, why would you have a duplicate? Why not have just whatever you have there? Because you have the other board. You just bring the other board.
Exactly.
So yeah, good answer.
Yeah, just fun. Just
right
fun.
on, right on. And moving on to the Pugilist, tell us about that.
Yeah, man, just really versatile. It definitely has its own color, but it doesn't really impart like this giant different tonal spectrum onto whatever. That was really important to me for rehearsal because you may be plugging into anything. You know, I might take my Princeton, there might be a Blues Junior there might be a Boss Katana, there might be, you know, a big amp, a small amp, you just don't know. And so something that is just really plays well with everything. And man, this, I mean, boy, Fender knocked it out of the park with that, man. It's super versatile. So I've just got it set up for a basic kind of great crunch tone.
Nice.
Yeah, you know.
Okay, so that's going to cover whether you're doing rock or a blues thing, or even if you need a little dirt for a jazz thing or a country thing, whatever you might be doing.
Sure, and again, you know, no volume pedal, so I'm doing everything here on the volume knob, but, you know, it's just, it's super responsive, too.
Right, so that's your gain control.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping it simple, definitely. And this Digitech chorus flange, man, it was something I had in the stash, and yeah, and I pulled it out and went, man, this thing really does a nice, like, I find myself using the rotary speaker kind of sound a little more, and this gets a good wobble.
Yeah, really rich.
Yeah, it is, and you can slow it down, obviously, and you know, since it's a chorus and a flange, and you know, kind of can go back and forth and do whatever you need. Again, small, simple, easy.
Right, just gives you that touch of modulation when you want to have it for just to instantly step on it.
Yep, and the Echoplex Delay, just a great sounding delay. I mean, just really nice, man. Yeah, it's got that little bit of sway in it. That's, man, it's just really rich.
Yeah, it's almost like a modulated delay, but not quite. I've got one too, and I absolutely love it. It really is a surprisingly versatile because you can do a cleaner delay or you can
you can get it wobbling a little bit. And, you know, it tucks in really nice if you want it to, or you can really get it to jump out. And with the addition of the tap, again, for rehearsal, that's kind of a big deal. You know, you're working on tempos a lot of times in rehearsal. It's like, is this faster or slower or whatever? You know, it's like, let's slow this down a little bit. Nice to be able to just tap it in and not have to dial a knob. You know, or look at a number or a display or whatever.
Two more things.
Yeah.
Tell us what board you're using here and how are you powering it?
Oh, the MXR Mini ISO Brick. Great power supply, man.
And it fits under a tiny board like this.
Yep. And that's the Pedal Train Nano.
Right.
They're a wee tiny one.
About as compact as you can get.
Exactly.
Nice thing is, though, you pop it into a soft bag and it's so easy to carry.
Yeah, it almost like hangs off your gig bag or whatever for your guitar.
Right.
Easy enough.
Super small, but it covers everything you need.
Yeah, it does.
Nice.
And, you know, fun to practice with, too, man. You know, even at home, I mean, just a little extra inspiration, not just dry straight into the amp every time.
Yeah, right, exactly. You can kind of get the color that you want for working on a particular part that you're working on.
Right, exactly.
Once again, I've got ideas there that I may take home for my for my small board.
Cool.
Man.
Yeah, you got a great small board, too.
Well, you know, like you said, it's a useful thing to have for a variety of different applications. But man, thanks so much for sharing. Obviously, a lot of years of experience went into designing these boards and being able to put together something that's going to be that versatile and that obviously sounds killer.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. Yeah. It's you know, it's just kind of your workflow. It's what you do. It's what feels right for me. Everybody's pedal board is going to be a little bit different, you know. All good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks again. We appreciate it.
Sure thing, Mitch. Thank you.
Right on. And thank you for joining us here for What's on My Pedal Board. We've been featuring Don Carr, and I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater.